The following program is an encore presentation.
How do you do? We're about to unfold the story of Frankenstein.
May I see you for just a minute?
They'll be here any minute.
It's beating it over 250 to the minute. I must go to the lab. Only for a minute, dear.
I'm more terrified every minute.
Wait a minute now.
If you'll wait here a few minutes. If you will be patient for just a few minutes longer.
5 minutes.
10 minutes. 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Only 20 minutes.
Only 20 minutes.
Where is it? We've warned you.
What do you call it? What do you say? You've been warned. Welcome back to Frankenstein Minute, where we talk about whatever we want, because it's a bonus episode.
It's a bonus episode, so there. And who are you?
I'm Bill Evenson.
Right, and I'm Tom Lang, and you join us for not a minute.
No, but we're going to talk about hundreds of minutes.
We are going to talk about the minute that dropped recently. It's the final minute that Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi appear together.
In our podcast.
In this series of films.
And there's not a ton, it doesn't happen a ton. Well, I guess it does. What am I talking about?
I don't know. What are you talking about?
I don't know what I'm talking about.
There's 8 films that they were in together. The words teamed up and collaborations have come up, and I don't agree with that. They're in the same film together. It does not mean they collaborated. They didn't team up. There's no film where the two of them are like conspiring together. They're usually at odds with each other.
Do you mean the actors, the characters, or everything?
The characters.
Well, there is actually. There's a lost cut of one film where they kind of, I think, probably do team up.
Yeah, a little bit. We'll get to that because I'm sure it's on both lists.
I'm just being difficult. As
per usual. You wouldn't expect anything different.
So what we're going to get at is, of these 8 films, I have insisted that I have refused to watch all 8 films.
Okay.
I've seen 6 of them and parts of the other 2, and I have no time for that bullshit. So I said, let's just do our top 5. That'll be easy. And it was easy. I went back and watched the 5 films again.
Okay.
And they're great. I love all these films. I want to make that super clear because I got in an argument with somebody on the internet years ago about one of these films because I feel like it's not as good as some people think it is.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm curious.
I just want to make sure that it's clear that I still like that film very much.
Okay.
It'll be number 5, so we'll talk about it soon.
All right.
You go first.
Okay. Number 5.
5th favorite.
Released July 8th, 1935, running 65 minutes, produced by Universal Studios.
I think it might be the same one.
Directed by Louis Friedlander, who later went by the name Lou Landers. Produced by Stanley Bergerman and David Diamond. It is The Raven.
It is The Raven. I, on the other hand, on my list, if you're curious, because we have to go back and forth. My 5th favorite is The Raven. So we can talk about the same film.
Okay, good.
I wonder if we'll have the same list. We'll have to find out.
It's good. That'd be interesting.
I suspect not.
In this, we have Karloff and Lugosi, Lester Matthews, Irene Ware, neither of which make any impression at all.
Yeah, no, one of the things I did when I was going through these was I have a section where I talk about, or in my notes, about the cast, generally. And yeah, I don't care about anybody in this movie.
Yeah,
if anything, they're remarkable only for being bad.
Which
is like, it's not uncommon in a lot of these films. Like White Zombie, that's true.
Oh, that's the ultimate example of everybody except Lugosi in that film is terrible.
It's a detriment.
Yeah. Oh, here I mean, like Samuel S. Hines.
Not that bad.
Samuel S. Hines is okay. I think he's the guy that's strapped down to get the pendulum.
He's okay.
Yeah,
he has some scenes though where you're like you're actually sympathetic with what he's saying.
Yeah,
he still comes across.
He's still kind of blowhardish.
Because he's the dad.
Yeah.
Of the daughter who's dating
ingenue.
Lugosi, and he has this awkward thing with her, or with him, I'm sorry, where he's like, well, you don't agree with this either. I'm like, well, that's kind of an odd way to put that. Because he's dating a younger woman.
Well, and because Lugosi's just weird as fucking hell.
Well, that doesn't help. Or maybe it really helps, depending on what you're trying to see.
Depending on your point of view.
This is considered I think, here's what I think is going on here. I think Lugosi fans think it's a great film.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's very good in it.
Yeah, he's annoying.
I think he's annoying. Yeah, he's.
So
it's a very one note.
It gets no. I wouldn't agree with that. I would say it gets worse over time.
Okay, yeah.
So like at the beginning of the film,
the more hysterical the character becomes,
and
the worse
it doesn't take
gets.
long.
No, it's pretty quick. Yeah.
And by halfway in, you've figured it out.
And it's a 60-minute movie, so it doesn't take very long.
No, it doesn't take long.
And I think Karloff realized that this is just, I'm doing this for the money. I don't give a shit. And
I guess
he's fine.
What I would say about it is he is fine. I think he's actually really good, but he's given almost nothing to do. Yeah. His role is very thankless. This is one of the more thankless.
And I think it's one of the worst Jack Pierce makeups.
I get it, but I guess I go back and forth on it. I think I like it sometimes.
He's got half of his face. If you don't know,
I'm kind of stumbling through this.
He's a criminal who has stumbled into Lugosi's house. Lugosi's supposedly this famous surgeon. So he wants Lugosi to change his face. He's like, well, if a man's born ugly, then he does ugly things. And he's not ugly, and he's got a beard, and he looks like just a guy.
Yeah.
And so it's a dumb concept to begin with. And
yeah, he's sort of ugly, but he's not ugly. You wouldn't go, that's an ugly guy.
Geez, look at that guy. Yeah. Right. And so Lugosi instead just messes up his face.
Which is great.
It's one of what I call a pie in the face kind of makeup.
I get that. I totally get that about the makeup.
And
nobody looks at that makeup and thinks it's not makeup or whatever.
Yeah,
there's no person.
There's no
way to make it.
One eye is sort of open and down, and
it's like a ping pong ball.
It's in the close-ups. You can see it's just like cheesecloth that's been painted.
Yeah, it's not.
It's really bad. No one is a bigger fan of Jack Pierce and Karloff collaborating together, and that is a collaboration.
Okay.
Than I am, and this is the worst that they put together, the two of them.
It's one more thing that lets the film down.
And I think it was considered just a cheap toss-off.
Well, the other thing is, it's I think that the failings are everything we just said. Karloff isn't given enough to do. Mm-hmm. Lugosi's given too much to do, and that's it. And the makeup is depending on how you respond to that. Yeah. It's weird. It's odd.
And the story I think is kind of weak.
See, that's where I think the story could be good. Like there are some great ideas.
There's some great ideas. They're just done sort of ineptly.
It's ineptly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Lou Landers went on to be a better director.
Well, also, some parts of the movie are good. Like the actual execution of the end sequence with the... All right, so everybody knows this maybe, but it's a film about... And maybe it was on your card and I just talked over it.
For it.
But it's a I can't even think of the fucking guy's name. Who wrote The Raven?
Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar Allan Poe film. So Edgar Allan Poe was a bit of a weirdo. And this movie, he was avenged.
Poe, you are avenged!
Yeah, that's fucked up. Really I don't even know
terrible.
What that means. What does avenged mean?
It doesn't mean anything.
What's the definition of avenged?
Because Poe never needed to be avenged. He was,
he's
fairly well respected.
Especially for being a bit of a weirdo. Yeah, he's really got a great reputation.
And the takeaway is that Lugosi's character, was it Dr. Valen?
Sounds right.
Is a collector of Poe memorabilia or a big fan of Poe. Everything he does is Poe related.
But that he's actually taken it a step further and created
the torture devices.
The
pit and the pendulum, and there's like the room that collapses into itself.
Yeah, that too.
And it's... Karloff said years later, poor Poe, the things we did to him.
Yeah.
And this is the prime example, because The Black Cat, which is another Poe, Karloff Lugosi, is fantastic. There's another film called The Raven from the early 60s, which I happen to absolutely love.
I've still not seen it.
To the point where there's a poster hanging out.
I've seen the poster hanging.
You walk by it every time you
come
to record. And Poe's even stories, like Murder in the Rue Morgue, is not really filmable the way it's written.
Yeah.
And so The Raven is a poem about, a guy being pestered by a bird. Essentially, you want to boil it down.
Yeah.
I love it. It's one of my favorite.
I know it from The Simpsons.
Oh, well,
it was one of the Treehouse of Horror episodes, yeah.
And I think
and also just
Tiny Toons or Animaniacs, one of the two did it as well.
Did they? Okay. Well, I was
Vincent Price.
Even just as a kid, I felt like I knew it. Like you would know it somehow. There's
kind of
recordings, I believe, of Lugosi reading it, and maybe Karloff,
I know there's one of Rathbone. I have that.
Oh, there's a Rathbone one. That's what
I have Rathbone, and I have Price reciting it.
Okay, but
and it's just sort of part of the horror kind of zeitgeist, I guess.
And it's a good poem.
That's a great poem.
I don't like poetry. I'm not a poetry guy.
I usually don't wrap my head around it.
It's one of my favorites.
And Mad did a great thing on it.
Oh, Oh, yes,
early
they
Mad.
fucking did. That's right. Mad comic book version.
It's Harvey Kurtzman and Will Elder.
Yes,
and that is
absolutely. That's
the
probably the main
Mad.
one.
Yeah,
that's hilarious that I've forgotten about that, because that's probably the main way I came into it. Because we've talked about this before, but when we were kids, Mad Magazine put out special issues that included reproductions of the original Mad comic book.
Yep.
And those are great treasures in our house.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Oh yeah, I would buy and almost completely ignore the main issue.
The main issue was probably fine at that time. It wasn't a bad magazine.
No,
it wasn't as good as the old comic.
Oh no, nothing was. And
nothing was.
When I first found Mad, I was aware of the magazine because it was at the grocery store, and I probably
Alfred E. Newman.
I probably even had a couple issues, and I think it was like 8. But when I first discovered the Harvey Kurtzman comic book, I was staying at someone's house, a friend of the family's, because my mom has systemic lupus and would go to the Mayo for sometimes weeks, and I would be pawned off on family and friends.
Okay.
And this one, it was my mom's best friend that they had grown up with. And their house had, the upper level was like a little apartment, so I get to stay up there. So it was cool. I had my own place. And in the nightstand to the bed was a little paperback, The Bedside Mad.
Okay.
And it was all the Kurtzman stuff, and it completely blew my mind.
Sure.
My entire world turned upside down, and I am who I am today because of finding that book.
Okay.
I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
Nothing has had that big an impact on me in my life as that book did. And finding that.
Here's the problem. You've given me no leeway to say how much I love it.
Yeah.
Because it didn't. I can't say it had that much of an effect on me. But it was profound. Absolutely. There's nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's a singular thing. And,
exactly.
I don't know. I always think about the Popeye one. For some reason,
that's a good one. Yeah.
But yes, The Raven. Absolutely, I'd completely kind of forgotten.
To this day, Harvey Kurtzman is my ultimate hero.
Okay. And he made a movie called The Raven.
He made a movie called Mad Monster Party, I guess, that he wrote the screenplay for.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he wrote the screenplay.
Oh, interesting. Well, that's pretty cool.
Supposedly then Forrest J. Ackerman went in and tweaked it a little bit. Anyway.
So there's that version of The Raven. There's the movie of The Raven. This version of The Raven is...
you don't even hear much of the poem in it.
Is there anything to do... Oh, I know what it is.
He's
got
a
dance.
Oh, yes. There's like a ballet.
So, like, if you watch the DVD extras, or the Blu-ray extras now on Shout Factory, I think, or maybe, I don't know, maybe I read... Oh, I probably read it in the Mank book too. It's considered this dance that she does is like this. It was a contemporary thing that was going on. It was a real dance that someone created to go along with the poem The Raven. When I watch it, it looks idiotic.
Oh, it looks It
looks like you couldn't imagine anything stupid.
Yeah.
It just is a nightmare.
Poetry and dance are two art forms that I just do not get.
Yep.
It's my failing, not the art forms.
Apparently, because it's considered a fantastic dance that has nothing to do with anything.
And I just watch it and I'm like, what
There's like
a
person standing at a podium on the right side of the screen, or the stage in this case, because in the film they go to it. And she just dances around.
Flopping around on the stage.
Kind of flopping around.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with anything.
So if somebody listening, if anybody's listening,
so the
that
conceit
knows
of this
more
film,
about it than we do, correct us,
tell us
please.
how bad. Yeah, please correct us and explain why this is great. There's not much connection to the Raven. That's it.
When he's got a stuffed one in his house, Lugosi.
Yep. And I guess the broader point is that he's obsessed with Poe.
Yeah.
And so
we call it The Raven as well as
could
have been the road. Could have been the road to El Dorado, for that matter.
I don't know.
That's another poem.
Is it?
Yeah, it's Poe. Yeah.
Oh, it's Poe?
Yeah. You've seen the movie El Dorado, right? John Wayne and James Caan, and
I guess not.
It's sort of a loose remake of Rio Bravo.
Well, why haven't I seen Howard Hawks, James Caan in a
Howard
remake?
Hawks made this film 3 times.
Oh my God, I gotta see.
Or is it Robert Mitchum? Is he in that one? I know there's one with.
Wow.
James Caan's character is reciting this poem throughout the film.
So I did want to say a couple of things. Number one, Karloff is actually pretty good.
He's good for what he's given.
But there's nothing. He's barely in it.
It's like The Old Dark House. And I'm not the only comparison.
Really is like that.
The only comparison between the two films is that Karloff is wasted.
Yeah. And he also does the same.
He does his Frankenstein.
He does his Frankenstein.
And I think I honestly believe he saw, okay, this is Bela's picture. I don't give a shit.
I guess.
Fine.
It was their third film together.
Well, arguably. Technically.
I think the direction is pretty good.
It's not bad.
It's not bad at all. It's not a poorly made film, except in as much as a director might want to talk to the lead actor and say, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Yeah, we dial that back. Like you're at 16. We want it down to about 4.
See, this is where I really have mixed feelings about this because, like I said, I got into an argument on the internet with a friend of mine, actually, Kyle Anderson, who writes for Nerdist.
Okay,
and he did a piece where he watched all these, and I think he was doing the Blu-ray set, a review of the Blu-ray set, and he was kind of just tweeting as he was watching it, each film, and I just got into it with him on The Raven, because I'm like, oh god, shut up about The Raven, it's the worst movie on that set, and it isn't, but I was like,
what do you consider to be?
Because that set was Black Cat, Raven, Invisible Ray, and Black Friday, which I think is worse. Yeah, but
spoiler alert, Black Friday did not make my top 5.
Fuck. Well, then fuck the whole podcast. Yeah. Why are we even doing this? So I kind of want to make sure that I say that I do like this film. It is in my top 5.
Yeah,
it's better than Black Friday.
It's better than Black Friday.
It's better than a lot of
Gift
things.
of Gab, and it's better than You'll Find Out.
Yes, it's great. Well, that's
spoiled,
spoilers. Jeez,
I just spoiled my 3.
So all I tend to do is talk about the things I don't like about it.
Yeah,
Lugosi is. If you're a Lugosi fan, it's pretty great.
You got to be coming all over yourself. Yeah, he's Lugosi at ramped up to 11.
Totally. Having said that, we've just spent 99 weeks talking about
how great he is
Lugosi's
in
best film.
Yeah, his best film.
But this is a Lugosi. I don't know how to even say it. It's like if you like
Lugosi at
Dracula,
his Lugosiest.
If you like him as he's at his most Lugosiest.
If you like
Wood's
him in
best film.
Yeah, basically. If you like him in Murders in the Rue Morgue, you'll love him in The
Raven. Yeah. It's weird. It's such a weird. I feel like we could talk about The Raven forever.
This film has
just
come up,
because of Lugosi and how we both feel about Lugosi.
This film has come up a lot. I remember early on, one of the first few episodes might have been 0.
Yeah,
we talked about it too, and sort of ambivalent about it, and weren't sure how to feel, and so it's come up a lot.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable. It's a good placement to have it at number 5.
Yeah.
It's one of the 5 best. That's all we can say.
Okay.
Is it my turn? You did first, so I'll do mine.
So we did. Well, we both did our 5. So go ahead.
My number 4 is a film called The Invisible Ray.
Okay.
From 1936, starring Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi.
Well, it's starring Karloff and Bela Lugosi.
That's true. We're still in the Karloff phase.
Yeah.
He was Karloff in Raven then, right? Too? I thought he was.
Oh, maybe he was. Because it's 35. So because he was certainly in Bride of Frankenstein. He's Karloff.
There you go. He's the immortal Karloff.
Karloff the Uncanny.
The Karloff the Uncanny. All right, but so this was actually the argument that I had with Kyle, was that I thought The Invisible Ray is better. I still think it's better. But there's all kinds of problems with this one too. It's not one of the great films.
Do you want, because it's on my list too, should I go with, so we can talk about it at the same time?
I guess so. So I don't know how, this is the problem with these types of episodes.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about my number 4. It's not your number 4?
No.
Okay. Well, what do you got?
For my number 4?
What do you got about The Invisible Ray?
Oh, it's my number 3.
Okay.
Released January 20th, 1936, 80 minutes long, directed by Lambert Hillier, produced by Edmund Granger and Fred S. Myers. Like, nobody cares about that, so I don't know why I bother. Couple interesting cast members. Frank Riker, who was in King Kong, Dr. Cyclops, Walter Mitty, the Mummy, or not the Mummy, but several mummies.
Okay.
He's most recognizable as the captain from King Kong.
Sure.
And our old friend Ted Billings from Bride is in Invisible Ray as well.
I didn't even realize. I don't have any
That
idea.
Goes for me, too. He's one of the ghouls with Dwight Fry in the crypt with Pretorius.
Okay. And
he's Ludwig.
Okay, I see. All right.
What do you say we let him hang us? That goes for me, too.
That goes for me, too, yeah. You didn't mention, this one has Frances Drake in it.
It does, and I was just leading up to that. But go ahead.
No, I just love her.
Oh, she's fantastic.
She's great, yeah.
She's gorgeous.
Yep.
In this and Mad Love, she she's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost wish she would have been in Bride of Frankenstein instead of Valerie Hobson. To some
Makes
degree.
sense. That's a great.
Because I think she's got a little more gravitas as an actor.
I think so. Yeah.
I think she could have handled some of this. She's a little older by a few years, so she's a little more experienced.
Than Valerie Hobson, who was 17.
17, yeah. So some of the histrionics that she would have to do in Bride, I think she could have handled them a little bit better.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this film is a better. It's better in that sense. Like I said, the other cast, the people that aren't Karloff and Lugosi, are given a lot more to do.
Yes, and they're
better actors, and everything turns out better.
Yes, and it's better directed. It's better written.
Well, there's issues too.
It's not perfect, but yeah,
it's convoluted.
It's a little complicated, yeah,
but compelling. I find it compelling,
and I like it in that now Bela's sort of the good guy.
Yeah, it's weird in that sense.
You don't get a lot of Lugosi moments.
Yeah,
he's actually doing a competent job.
Well, it's weird if you said to somebody, "Well, here's what I'd like to see the Invisible Ray. What is it?" And you tell them the whole plot. You say Karloff is a sort of a mad scientist who discovers this ray, and he uses it, and he goes crazy over the course of the film or whatever. And then the leading scientist that isn't him, I guess, I don't know, is this guy Lugosi, who throughout the film is trying to help him. He's trying to figure out how to best make things better, or
make
whatever.
It better, and best use this power that this ray has.
Yeah, he's sympathetic to Karloff's character.
They're
completely. They're not rivals in any way.
Yeah.
So you think that, and you go into each scene watching it thinking Lugosi's going to be the voice of reason here. He's the guy who's going to come in and, like I said, be the voice of reason. Yeah. You might think this is a nightmare. This is going to completely fall apart, but it's perfect. Actually, he's actually really good.
He's really good in this. Yeah.
Yeah, they're both really good in it.
Yeah, Karloff's great.
Yeah. He's got a weird perm.
He does. He looks
a wig or a perm?
I think it's a wig.
Okay.
It's a wig, and
there's no reason for it.
It's just to make him look different. He kind of liked that, I think.
He liked to look different in each film.
He kind of liked that.
He certainly looks different.
He looks a little bit like Kurt Vonnegut.
He's green in that one, The Grinch. Sorry. In my head, I thought I was going to let you sit and steam about me thinking he's green in the Frankenstein, but he is green. I thought
you were going to say in like one of the posters or lobby cards for this, because he's got that weird glowing effect.
Which is actually pretty great too.
It's cool. That's all hand done.
Great. It's Fulton.
Yeah, it's Fulton. It's all hand done. What they would do is do animation cells over the film and then airbrush this.
So he becomes infected, I guess.
Yeah, he's infected by this ray, and his touch means death.
Yeah, whenever he touches somebody, they get killed.
Yeah, they turn into like a little smoking little pile.
And then at the end, the ending is pretty spectacular.
The ending is really dark.
It's really great. Yeah.
Because his mother has been a main character throughout the film, and she's kind of like at the end.
She's a year older than Karloff, or maybe even a year younger.
The actress, yeah.
Yeah, but I listen to the commentary.
Yeah, she's at the end. And she's like, you know what, you're done. This has gone far enough. I'm not going to help you.
I think it's Weaver, actually.
Does Weaver say that?
Because it's Mank. Mank does Black Cat.
Yeah, I don't remember now. It's been a while.
No, I've forgotten. Oh, I think of course. Mank does Black Cat. Rhodes does The Raven, because it's Lugosi film.
That makes sense.
And then Weaver does Invisible Ray, and then Konstantin Nasser does Black Friday, which was time for that. No one's ever heard of it.
No one. Actually,
no offense to Konstantin.
I haven't watched that one, but I have a Blu-ray from England.
Okay.
That's a Karloff.
That one. I know the one you mean.
Yeah.
And are there different commentaries on that?
It's like Kim Newman or...
Kim Newman's back.
Yeah.
Do I must have that too and forgot about it. I'm pretty sure I do have that.
Yeah, it's on there. Well, Jesus.
No, it does say on the outside. It says, brand new audio commentary tracks on The Invisible Ray and The Strange Door with author Stephen Jones and author/critic Kim Newman.
Yeah.
Brand new audio commentary track on Black Friday with Kevin Lyons and Jonathan Rigby.
They're interesting because they're films that, certainly Black Friday I've dismissed as pointless, but they have a whole different take on it. So
yeah, I should listen to that.
They're good. I like their commentaries. They even Night Key.
Yeah.
they're like,
it's
this
like a punchline on this podcast.
It is a punchline pretty much in universal horror, and
sure,
they're like, this isn't really that bad.
Well, the thing about Night Key is they stopped making horror films. They said, that's it, we're done.
Yep.
Next thing we're gonna make is Night Key starring Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
So it's just weird.
It's like a crime caper, and he's sort of this doddering old inventor, and he does a good job.
And he again looks different than any other.
He looks like 15, 20 years older than he was.
I think that this is a great Karloff Lugosi pairing.
It is. This is one of.
It works really well to do it this way, and I'm not. We did just talk about The Raven. That kind of works on its own level.
Yeah.
Obviously not as good. In this, I think it's a really surprisingly good.
It's why it's my number 3.
Yeah.
Director Hillier was brought in at the last minute, and a guy named Stuart Walker, who did Werewolf of London. He was going over budget or starting late or whatever. Well, it turns out that Lambert Hillier went even later and longer and more over budget. So
what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
And it's on the screen. It's a good film.
It looks really rich. There's a great that sequence where he's like kind of taking you tour of the universe sort of thing in his observatory.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's a really that's a Fulton extravaganza.
And then that's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
great.
watching a.
It's like you're at the planetarium. Or something.
Yeah. Like a slideshow or whatever.
And this is an example of this is universal horrors, right? Mm-hmm. But it's got a really strong science fiction bent to it.
The last thing I was going to say is it's a great 50s science fiction film.
It made in 1936,
totally yeah, and it was from 1936
yeah.
with Karloff and Lugosi.
It's
when
great.
you go to watch it, it's like, wow, what?
First time I saw it, it was on TV, and I was younger and I didn't know much about their timeline.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when was this made?
Totally.
Because it felt very much like the tarantulas and the all those the 50s stuff. In a good way too, not in a
like
tacky,
amazing colossal man, that kind of shit. It's totally like that. Absolutely.
But it's better.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. That's a really good point. Yeah, it is better than.
It's not Bird-Eyed Gordon.
I can't think of one of those 50s ones. Yeah, they're kind of just.
Well, there's some good stuff in the 50s. You need to read Bill Warren's Keep Watching the Skies.
Yeah. All I've watched is the ones that are on Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah, no, there's some good stuff. Anything else?
And I think,
no,
that's it. I like I said, I don't have anything else to add to that.
Okay.
Convoluted but compelling. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I'm sorry, I don't have it in my notes, but the racial stuff is a little weird when you watch it.
Yeah.
But there's nothing. It isn't. I don't think you're going to see anything that's going to jump out like intentionally racist stuff.
No.
They go to Africa.
The sequence takes place in Africa.
It's as racist as King Kong. They go to Africa.
Or
Africa's full of black
Tarzan.
people. And
there's some worse stuff in that.
Yeah. So that's weird when you're watching it. It's never easy to sort of look at that and think, look at this guy who's being asked to do this role. He probably had, he might have been one of the guys that was on Orson Welles' Macbeth on stage.
You never know.
The year before or whatever, and he's reduced to this. So that's uncomfortable, but it's just part of the
But
era.
it was a job.
Yeah, exactly. You got a job.
I want to say it was Hattie McDaniel.
Yeah.
From Gone with the Wind.
That's 39.
When asked about playing those kind of roles, she's like, well, here's the deal. I could be a maid for $70 a week or play a maid for $700 a week. You do the math.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that's skirting the issue. What the actor thought.
Well, okay, yeah, it is.
The situation is still the problem.
Yes, but it did give them employment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway.
And again, in this case, this is better. The racial stuff in this film, in my personal opinion, is better than Gone with the Wind.
Yes.
Gone with the Wind is people that should have known better, kind of thing.
Yes.
Whereas this film, I don't think anybody's intentionally. It's like we talked about some of the Looney Tunes. What's the one? The big jazz one.
Coal Black and
the Seven Dwarfs. Yeah, that's racially insensitive. But when you watch there's absolutely no 0% animosity.
It's
intended
a celebration of that music,
jazz culture.
Yeah, it's a wonderfully made film, and it's really a shame that it has that stigma.
And so that's the way I look at this film is through that lens of.
It's not
this isn't a celebration of Africa. It isn't. Anything.
Nobody's in blackface.
But nobody's in black. Yeah, right.
So that
helps.
That helps a lot.
Yep. Okay.
So do you want my number 4?
What's your number 4?
You're not going to like this.
I know.
Son of Frankenstein.
Yeah, I figured.
January 13th, 1939. Universal
It's my number
Pictures.
3, so we just
okay.
swap.
We'll just talk. Okay. 100 Minutes, produced, directed by Roland V. Lee, very slowly.
Let me say this about the fact that this is my number 3. Eagle-eared listeners will remember that Son of Frankenstein was number 3 on my list of all-time Karloff films. So clearly my opinion has changed, because now it's barely in the top 3 of my Karloff Lugosi films.
And it didn't even make my top 10 Karloff films.
That's true. You've remained consistent. My opinion has clearly changed.
Okay.
All right. Roland V. Lee.
Yeah.
You got something to say about Son of fucking Frankenstein?
I don't anymore. 2 years.
For Christ's sake.
Basically, if you want to hear us talking about, you're talking about this film, go back 100 weeks. And
I actually have a few things to say about it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I really don't.
That's it? You're done?
Well, no, I mean, I got the cast list, I got all that, but everything.
What's the cast list? Let's do it.
Oh, it's Basil Rathbone, Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, Lionel Atwill, Josephine Hutchinson, whom we love.
Yep.
Donnie Dunnigan, whom we don't. No, we don't.
Yeah, he's pretty great.
I want to again make it clear. I have nothing against Donnie Dunnigan, the person.
And I understand why you're saying that. You're trying to set yourself up in opposition to me. I actually dislike Donnie Dunnigan as a person.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
He seems like a very nice man, and he was 4, and his performance is not his fault. Emma Dunn playing the dullard Amelia.
Emma Dunn. Actually, it's weird that I didn't even realize they celebrated Emma Dunn. No, I'm just trying to make a Ramadan. It just fell apart.
That was a stretch. Edgar Norton, who I like a lot. Perry Ivans, who I don't so much. Lawrence Grant, Lionel Belmore, Michael Mark, and Joseph Von Safertits as the Beaver.
Yep, we're going to talk about all these people in a few weeks when we do our episode 100.
And Ward Bond. Let's not forget Ward Bond is in there.
Ward Bond cut off my tie at Chasen's.
Did he? Yeah. Right?
It's a hell of a thing.
Dwight Fry is either cut out of the film or unconfirmed as having been in it at all.
Yeah.
I don't think he was.
I don't think he was, yeah. But who cares?
Harry Cording and Jack Curtis have appeared in several Frankenstein films.
Okay. It's good.
Is in bit parts and things. And,
all right.
And Harry Cording is in The Black Cat and a few things, but
okay.
Anyway.
Not a lot of people in The Black Cat, so you should be able to identify them.
Right.
Here's what I think.
Okay.
Since we're talking about these as Karloff and Lugosi films, I tend to think of them as, and we're 3 films into the list or whatever, and I'm finally talking about this. But I did tend to think about them in terms of what it's like to have the 2 of them together in the film, and that's why I think that's part of the failing of The Raven, for example, is they might as well not be in the film. They do share the scenes they share together. I actually really like, but there's like 2 of them.
Yeah.
This film is falls apart on that level because Karloff isn't given enough to do.
Right.
However, it's Lugosi's
best film.
In my opinion, your opinion, we agree on this.
Best performance in a film.
I think you and I would only disagree on how Lugosi performs in Dracula, but not enough that I'd say it's better than this film. This is his best film.
Yeah,
Lugosi's best film. Karloff is underused, but also great. Yes. He's just underused. What he does and what he has to do, he's fantastic. Yeah. So, similar to what I said about The Raven, except Lugosi's not super great in The Raven.
Yeah.
I think the rest of the cast are excellent. It's got Atwill. It's got
Atwill.
It's got
I mean, I love Atwill in anything, and he's great in this.
Yep. This is one of his great roles.
Yeah. And he's not playing a villainous role, which is unusual because that's sort of his stock and trade.
Kind of is, yeah.
You know,
Wax Museum.
And actually,
Moriarty.
Actually, only in the next film in the Frankenstein series does he play sort of a disreputable character.
Okay.
Otherwise, he's like the mayor or the police chief or whatever.
He introduces Frankenstein to the Wolfman.
Yes, Frankenstein, Wolfman,
Frankenstein. Can't wait for that minute. The story is a bit off, but overall, it's just what I read here, an entertaining romp. I still stand by that.
Yeah, it is. It's too long. It's too draggy in spots. I think there's a lot of air in it that could be easily cut out.
Yeah.
I've always said there's a really, really good 75-minute movie screaming to get out of a okay, good 99-minute movie.
And after having gone through this ride with you, I'm more sympathetic to that than I used to be. I don't know if I'd go 75, but maybe
80?
maybe 75. And that would all be cut between minutes 50 and 80, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Because
I think it takes too long. It takes too long to build up too. I think.
That I don't think.
I think there's too much at the beginning before anything really happens.
The way I watch it is, I tend to think of it as, in its context, which is, it's 1939, and people loved the first two films, and we're back, baby. We're making a big
it's like
Frankenstein
ultra
movie.
Frankenstein
and
movie.
So you spend that first 20 minutes talking, with the characters on screen talking about it, basically. Talking about the other film. I love all that, and I buy into all that. So I think that first 20 minutes is, I love it. Okay. So that's where you and I would disagree. I would say that there's definitely some stuff to be cut out, like I said, between 50 and 80.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, Son of Frankenstein.
Do
I have more to say about that? Oh, I also think the direction is pretty great. This is a very great looking film.
It looks great.
But
I'm not going to say
all those flaws that I'm talking about are on Lee's shoulders as well.
Then it's not directed great.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why I'm saying it now. Okay. I agree. It looks great, but yes, there's something to be. There's some work that could have been done there. But I think if you'd edited it differently, you would never even think that. Right?
No, probably not.
All it needs is a little bit of editing.
What happened is
there's nothing bad that's on the screen, I guess.
It was released like 7 days after they wrapped.
Yeah, right.
So that's ludicrous.
Right. That's
absolutely ludicrous. But they already booked it into theaters, and Lee just fucked around for too long, shooting it. I wonder how much actual footage was thrown away.
Have you ever seen the 4-hour cut of This Is Spinal Tap?
No.
Do you know that there's
such a thing? I know there is such a thing, but
so they just shot and shot.
Oh, I know. I realize that.
And so there's
wisely they cut it down to an hour and a half.
Right. And that's what I think.
I've seen the 5.5 hour Apocalypse Now.
Well, there you go.
And wisely he cut it down to 3.
Well, I don't know. Same guy bumped it back up to 3.5, and then 4, and then back down to 3.5.
Yeah, I still prefer its original edit.
And we're never gonna see eye to eye on Apocalypse Now, I don't think.
Oh no.
Well, I think it's great. You think it's great, but I think you think it's greater than I think.
I do.
I know that when we talk about, if we just look at Coppola, it seems like you feel the way about that I do about The Godfather.
Exactly.
I went on a cruise of the Panama Canal, and then we went to some other places, and oftentimes the weather didn't agree with us. Oh. So I looked out. Actually, I'm going to show you a picture.
Perfect for an audio
podcast. I looked out the window and I saw this. I saw these two guys on a boat, and I'm like, you're laughing, because then I had to show Jackie. I'm like, this is it's
Fredo and
Fredo's out there doing doing the Lord's Prayer. Anyway, so that's how I feel about The Godfather. I see it places everywhere.
Well,
so you're
Apocalypse
Now, whereas I'm more of a Hearts of Darkness documentary guy. That's the one. Well, that's maybe a better film.
Have you seen The Freshman?
Yeah, not in forever.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
As a Godfather guy, you should.
Yeah. I know. I need to revisit that. I should do that. That's a good idea. Okay, so I think it turned out great. There was a lot of Sturm und Drang that went into making it.
Yes, there was.
But overall, I'm happy to say it's my number 3. You made it your number 4. Yeah. You put The Invisible Ray at number 3?
Yeah.
Okay. What's wrong, Tom?
No,
what's the problem?
This is just getting a little long.
Well, I thought you wanted to talk. I didn't.
Oh, I do.
It's a podcast. We're supposed to be.
I do, but it's getting long for the listeners. So should we split this in half?
Oh, I see
what
I'm saying. So you're saying
we'll wrap this up, and then we'll come back and do.
So that was like a part 1.
Yes.
So this will be our Karloff and Lugosi top 5 part 1.
Part 1. And then we can come back and do their top 5 Lugosi Karloff part 2.
I have a concern.
You do?
I'm concerned. Are we ever really going to do part 2? Or are you just never, it's never going to actually happen?
Oh, I don't know. I think there's a lot to talk about.
You just don't want to talk to me anymore. And I'm
glad you said that, because I wasn't quite sure how to bring that up. So I'm glad that actually. No, I think we will.
It's not like I didn't notice.
Okay. I think we will, because our top few are going to be really interesting to talk about.
That's a really good point. We got some great films to talk about.
So I think we will come back and do this.
I think you're right. I think we will do it. But don't pester us about it.
Yeah.
Probably next week.
Belong dead. Ho! You're avenged!
Ah!